Founder of yet another company.
Lacoon, Skyfence, Indigi. Some of them were not that successful. Everyone knows about cybersecurity, but they have too much of it.
It does come down to PR because if you don't get your messaging and your content right, your audience are never going to know anything about you in the right way. Hi, I'm Ivona Skenzi, and we're going to be doing a podcast on pioneers to powerhouses. The power of PR on someone's journey when they're kind of building a brand. Today I'm with Amichai Shulman.
Hello, Ivona.
Now, Amichai and I go back a long time, don't we?
Yeah, like a couple of years.
to the very beginning of almost the beginning of Imperva.
Yeah.
And what I really wanted to talk to you about was how you actually have on your journey used PR to kind of really build a brand like Imperva. And then now with a company like Nokod and also all these other companies that you've invested in, how you've actually kind of used PR as the backbone to really build the company as a visionary.
So I think it's not a simple answer because there are different companies, different domain and different stages. And you probably need your PR for different things in different stages in different markets. So for example, if you're going into a market where there is also already some competition and you're bringing a new approach to that market, you need two things. You need people to understand that you're bringing something new, but also you need to look much bigger than you are, because when you go into an opportunity and people say, hey, but there's that big competitor and there's that company no one heard of, which is small, then it's an issue, although you have this wonderful new approach. Using PR, you could make your company actually look bigger. I know one company that worked fantastically with is Panorays, for example. And at some point they were a small company, but everyone was convinced that they are like this big player in the market because their appearance in media and in conferences. So this is one use case for that. The other use case is when you're in a market where there are different competitors and you want to set up your own personality to differentiate. So for example, if you want to be the cool company or if you want to be the expert company. Okay, so this is something that, again, if you use PR correctly, if you have the right PR partner, then it can certainly help you set the personality of the company and make sure that when you go into an opportunity, everyone knows, hey, these are the experts, because we've read about them, we've seen about them, and what we have read was consistent with that image of being an expert. There is another use case, and this is probably more relevant to today, where there is so much noise around, and quite frankly, everyone is trying to say the same, and you need someone to help you say it differently, make sure that people understand not just what's your differentiation with respect to competitors, but what is that you do that no one else is doing. So not just, I'm in this domain and I'm different than my three competitors, but hey, I'm in a totally new domain. This is something completely new, and you guys need to listen to this. And again, if you have the right PR partner, this is one of the things that they help you achieve.
Will you tell us who you are and really where you've come from? Because you're not just a nobody, you're really a somebody. And you've done so much good in the world of cybersecurity. Will maybe go back to where you really originally started and some of the things that you've achieved for us.
I started 30 years ago, quite traditionally in the military. But then I spent some time in the military. After that, I had my own services company. And then by 2002, I joined Miki Budai and Shlomo Kramer, and we co-founded Imperva. I ran with the company for 15 years as the CTO. Exciting times, IPO and everything. Then in the past 10 years, I was involved in creating quite a few other cybersecurity companies, like Lacoon, Skyfence, Spanarrays, Indigi, Insights, and quite a few others.
Hold on, hold on, say that again. I'll never forget. No, I'll tell this in a minute, but say that again a bit more slowly, because that is phenomenal.
It's Lacoon, Skyfence, Indigi, Insights, Spanarrays, quite a few others. Some of them were not that successful. This is actually my third company as a CTO and founder. And well, I just like building things. And you know, people think that cybersecurity is very glamorous. Reality, and you know, I'm addicted, okay? So I'll keep doing cybersecurity, but cybersecurity is a lot like selling insurance. Not an easy task, but the good thing or the interesting thing in cybersecurity is that you are really helping organizations fight against a concrete risk. So there is someone on the other side trying to sabotage, trying to steal information, trying to get in. And if you are doing your job right, then you're helping companies avoid that.
I've got a little story about Amichai. When I came to see you in Israel, I'll never forget that time that I walked down Rothschild Street Rothschild Boulevard, and you got stopped. Every single lamppost was another person. It was like, oh my gosh, Amichai. It was so funny. You knew everybody in that street, and everybody knew you. And they were so full of awe because you had done so much. And you also do lecturing, don't you? Do you still do that?
Yeah, I think that, and I think it had to do with the trip to Rothschild Boulevard. I think that it is very important to keep building the community. And what you saw back then in Israel is that there are already quite a few generations of cybersecurity companies. And the founders of one generation are then the funders of the next generation. But it's not just funding, it's really the mentoring and the helping. And then the next generation gets successful. And then they help create the next generation of companies. And while there are competition, they are still working together. You know, we do have competition in Nokod. Fierce, but it so happens that they are friends as well, because these are people we know for years. So this whole thing of building the community over time, and part of it is really training the next generation of professionals. And I love working with students. It's just, you know, they're so creative and they are so eager to try new things and have it their own way. So
I think that's what I always learned that was very different about the Israeli infrastructure versus the, because I only know obviously the UK infrastructure and maybe the American infrastructure too, but the way that in Israel everybody, as you just now said, helps everybody. So you set up one business and then you're successful. I think you once described it to me as almost like throwing a stone in a pond, and those rippling out and hitting the next one and the next one and the next one, and everyone goes and supports everybody else, as you just now said.
Yeah, it's exactly that, and I think this is what makes, you know, that industry in Israel very strong, very solid.
So even though you're fierce competitors,
Yeah.
you're actually already good friends as well.
Yeah, what can we do?
You can't
Yeah,
run.
you
You can't run very far
yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
So, is there anything else you think that we could learn from you about how others could go about doing their kind of building up companies to be as successful as you've been with your companies? What do you think the secret sauce is?
Hard work and getting the right people, both for your team and your partners. And there is no one type of right people. You need to have the right people for you, and that creates the company's culture. I know it's very popular to talk about building the culture of the company.
Yes.
Usually you read that in large US companies,
Yeah.
and they have this process of building the culture. I believe that you just create the culture as you grow the company, and it should be based on your values, on your personality, and then it just happens. And again, it has to do with the people who work with you directly in the company, and it has to do with your partners along the way. If you have the right people, you will be successful.
What does Nokod mean? Because I remember when you told me about Imperva, which we always thought was an interesting name, was all about a little cookie, wasn't it?
So the way it was described to me is that Imperva was from impervious, which is sort of unpenetrable.
Ah, nothing to do with cookies.
No,
So I wonder
no,
where I got that one from. Anyway,
I don't know.
I don't know.
But no code, and again, I could give you a long story about no code.
Yes.
But the reality is that it was a typo. Because
typo?
because we're dealing with no code, low code environments,
Oh.
and at some point we had to put our name on an investor's presentation, and there was a typo, and we said, okay, let's keep it like that.
I like that. That's the best sort of kind of background for coming up with a name. That's really cool. So we're in a really hard times though, and when we spoke a couple of days ago, Amichai, we both said how tough it is at the moment and how tough it is to build a company at this particular time. How do you think you're going to kind of succeed at the moment? And maybe you're not finding it as difficult. Maybe I think it's a tough market right now. How do you think you're going to kind of rise above it?
I think it's a different market than I knew 20 years ago
Yeah.
or 10 years ago. And I think I cannot say it's tougher, okay, because there were other difficulties back then. People didn't know what cybersecurity is.
Yeah.
So now everyone knows about cybersecurity, but they have too much of it. So that's a different challenge. I think you need to learn how to speak with busy security teams. You need to listen to what would make them take action. I don't know necessarily how to do that, but this is what we're trying to do. We're just trying to find a way to first make them understand that we're doing something that they do not have today. We're not improving. We're not, making a slight change. We're doing something that they do not have today. And we are trying to find the right incentive for them to introduce yet another security solution into the organization in a world which is very tough for them as well in terms of budget cuts and just sheer attention span.
Funnily enough, we do the IT Security Analyst and CISO Forum, and we did one about a month ago. And the CISOs turned around to all of the vendors at the table and said, just listen to us. You don't listen to us enough. You talk to us, you sell to us. You don't actually stop and listen. And you just said exactly the same. it's really important to go to your customers and actually talk to them and actually craft your message, your product to suit their needs, not as opposed to building a product you just think that people may want, right?
Well, it's both, because you need to build a product that you think is missing, but then you need to find the right way to bring it to them. And sometimes that way is to listen and understand that this person is not going to be your customer in the next future, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's something that you need to convey across your organization, because salespeople, they say, okay, we'll pound them enough and
Yeah.
they'll break. And I think you have to be disciplined, and you need to understand that if you ask the right questions and correctly evaluate the answers, then hey, this guy understands and we need to follow on. This guy understands, but you're not going to follow on for the next year, and this guy doesn't understand, let's go to the next one. so it's really changing the way you think of how you sell and market to people in a very, very crowded environment. And I don't believe it like keep pounding. It's know when to let go.
Well, actually, that takes us right back to the power of PR, doesn't it? And actually why PR is so important, how messaging is the most important thing you can do at the very beginning, knowing your message and actually perforating that throughout the whole company, and then actually getting the right content together so that you can then market it to the right people, right? It does come down to PR, because if you don't get your messaging and your content right, your audience are never going to know anything about you in the right way.
And again, there are a number of ways PR helps you here. One of them is for those people who you said, well, you're not ready for me now. Your way of getting them ready is making sure that they read about you, or even about your domain, in the papers, because if it was in the paper, it must be true.
Yes.
Then this is one of the way it helps you, and really it makes sure that you come back in a year or two, they can already look back and say, hey, we know about this, it must be important because it's in the paper, and hey, they are the experts who brought it up, so we must talk to them.
And that's all about building thought leaders, which is, again, what a good PR agency will do for you. So I think that brings us to a beautiful conclusion, Amichai. And this was all about pioneers to powerhouses. But you are a powerhouse and a pioneer. I know that you're the most modest man I've ever met in my life, and the loveliest. But I wish you, Nokod, such success. I know that Imperva was built, and I think when you left there was way over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I know you said the other day you've now got 14 people. But I think I know you are a creator, you are a visionary, and I know you will do phenomenally well, Amichai, with this business.
Thank you, Yvonne. And yeah, we're trying to build new things, and that's the essence of it.
And and you know how wonderful is it to keep building and building, and breaking and building. That's fun too. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate
Thank you, Yvonne.
that.
My pleasure.
And that is Amichai Shulman, who is the founder of yet another company, Nokod. Thank you.